tonight is very much about scaling, because I think if I had known this at the beginning, then I would be probably retired by now. But it really does make a difference what I'm going to tell you here. And a lot of it you might think, well, that's easy to say now that you've got money or you've done it or whatever. But trust me on this one, if you can try and figure a way out to put what I'm about to tell you tonight in play from day one, your business will scale so quick. So we're going to look at obviously a few points, scaling a business. So the key points around scaling, and business is business. We just have a product called property, but business fundamentals are the same. I have been involved in businesses at quite high levels prior to me getting into property, which definitely give me skill sets to then bring into my own business. And there's a lot of key habits that I see mixing with 7, 8, and 9-figure business owners over the last couple of years, and being able to ask them questions and get on phone calls with them and just hanging out with them. You can see that there's a lot of key principles that a lot of the these successful people have within their frameworks. And rewiring your business habits, part of what we do needs a lot of rewiring. I talk about this a lot with my fitness clients. And part of the fitness side of things is about rewiring what's going on up here, and business is no different. We're going to build for the future now. So I'll talk about sort of my 1,000 property mindset and how I look at things. And I've kind of done this for quite some time now, not just in the last sort of few months. This has been something that I think has served my business growth quite well. And we are going to look at the mind and the body impact on your revenue. A lot of people don't associate the two things, but for me, they are directly linked and 100% correlated. And then I'm going to show you about brand development and marketing as well, which again is super important for everything that you're wanting to achieve. So let me just keep getting all these people in. So scaling your SA business, and scaling a business is super important. And at the end of the day, if you can't scale, you're not going to make more profit. It's as simple as that. If you can't scale, you're going to stay stagnant. You'll actually probably end up going back over because your competition will outweigh you, or you'll start to lose a few properties and then you'll start going back over. So we've always got to be focused on scaling. The number one thing, and I learned this too late, was you cannot do it alone. Okay. As entrepreneurs, we're great in the fact that we want to start things, but we're terrible in the fact that we won't give it up. So we want to do everything. And we don't believe that anybody else is anywhere near as good as what we can do. And therefore we want to do all the tasks. You cannot build a huge empire or even just a small to medium-sized business if you want to stay alone. Okay. If you want to build a large service accommodation business, or probably even just a portfolio of 10 to 20 properties, you're going to need help. Okay. And it's okay to get help, and it's okay to accept that somebody else can do stuff for you as well. One thing I struggled with very much so was releasing control. However, I've worked on that a lot over the last probably 12 to 18 months. And I really feel now that I'm in a position where I often delegate everything now, to the point where I think I'm not actually doing anything. And I now start to think, well, I'm not doing enough, so I need to do more. So it's, it's that teeter totter type trait that's going on. But, you can't do it alone. So always think, right, when can I get hired? I'm going to show you something later on the board, which is my maximization model, which will give you an idea of when you should start hiring, so you can try and time it correctly, because, timing is key. But you'll kind of know when you're ready. I've touched base on this, I think, briefly last night, if any of the Eagle listeners. So the investor versus cost minded. Okay. You have to start switching your brain from that everything is an investment and not a cost. Because if you keep thinking about scarcity mindset, cost-based mindset, you will never grow. Okay. You'll always live in fear. You'll always live in scarcity. You'll always be worried about money, and it'll prevent you from taking action that's required to find abundance. Now, hiring staff is exactly the same. Staff are not a cost on your business. Staff are a positive ROI. If I pay an employee $2,000 a month, I want $4,000 a month out of them. If I pay someone $5,000 a month, I want $10,000 a month out of it. If I pay a marketing agency $15,000 a month, I want 50 grand a month out of them. They are all returns on investment. Now, sometimes that investment doesn't necessarily come back from financial reward. For example, my portfolio manager is not targeted on sales of any sort, and she does not bring in any money at the front end. But what she does for the rest of the business to allow them to get involved in their roles and not get swept up in non-income producing roles means that they can all produce money, me included. So the amount that she takes off my plate allows me and my mind to fuel the business in a new direction, come up with new ideas, be able to, network and do things that are actually growing the business exponentially. So don't always look at it as I'm employing you and you need to bring money in. You can actually say, I'm going to employ you so I can bring more money in. And at the start of your business, that's predominantly what's going to happen. You're going to hire people to take away the administration functions, get you out of the operations, because the quicker you do that, the better. Then you can focus on continuing to grow the business and expand the business. If you are an entrepreneur who is not the best at sales or not the best at negotiation or not the best at building relationships, then you might actually recruit somebody to take that role on for you. So they might actually become the one that goes out and gets the business and brings that in, and then you deal with the operations. So everyone is different. Went through last month with my mentees. It was all about production. So that was the theme for last month, and we did a lot of tests on ourselves. And we really find out what is it? What is our DNA? What are we made up of? What are our core strengths and skills? And by understanding ourselves, we can actually then move forward in a much clearer direction and with a much clearer roadmap, which ultimately gets much better results, and it's really important that you understand yourself and that you switch your mindset. The same goes for your training or your advertising spend or your education. Anything you're doing that you're spending money on, it is not a cost, okay? It's always an investment. And when you switch your brain, I cannot tell you how different this makes things. You just start thinking of things so much differently. You stop thinking of things like, oh, well, if I do that, it's going to cost me this and I'll not have that much money left and blah, blah, blah. Rather than thinking, okay, if I invest in that, then that's going to help me get to there. And then ultimately that'll help me get to there. And always thinking of the upside of the ROI in the investment. So my maximization model, give me 1 second. Is my screen frozen? Yeah, brilliant. Give me 1 second because I do want to actually bring the oh, there we are. We're back. Okay, cool. So I'm not sure if you can. Let me just put this on a full screen. Okay, so maximization model, fairly simple model. Is split into 4 sections, and the 4 sections are down at the bottom. Here is the basically your startup business. So that is predominantly just you. Okay, so that's you, where most of you are right now, based on the conversations that we had last night in the chat. So most of you are just starting out. That's you, and you're typically going to run that business and you're going to build it from the ground up. So in this phase here, you're probably going to start with about 0 to 5 properties. You're probably going to get on your books by yourselves. You're going to be doing the operations. You're going to be acquiring the properties. You're going to be doing the contracts. You're going to be doing your reconciliation of your bank accounts. Basically, you're going to be doing everything, okay? But don't worry, it's only 5 properties. It's not that much work to do, and you'll be fine. What happens here is this is when you will start maybe getting your first team member. And typically here, you're probably earning somewhere in the region of £2,500 net. And that allows you to invest in a staff member and also then kick the business on further. So that's stage 2 of the maximization model. And that is stage number 1 of you coming out of the operations. I cannot tell you that must be your single focus. Right now, your single focus is how quick can I get out the operations? Because the quicker you get out the operations, the quicker your business scales, okay? The next is when you're probably earning somewhere around 15K net a month, 10 to 15K, and you will then have a team of people that are leading the way, and ultimately you are pretty much coming fully out of the operations. You've got a good team in there, and you've got a good handful of properties, you've got good systems and processes, and you're starting to build quite nicely. You will also probably now start to add other people into the acquisition team so that you can grow quicker. And then ultimately you get to the top quadrant here, the maximization model, which is basically CEO. And that means you do not get involved in the business operations ever. Okay. So you really, unless there is something drastically wrong going down and they need your support, you will not get involved in the business operations. You want to get to this part of the maximization model as quickly as you possibly can. Because if you don't, you will not grow your business. It really is. And it's easy to say, well, I need the money to get to there. Not necessarily, because remember, investment mindset. So even if you took somebody on now, and instead of wasting, so what you don't want to do is make the mistake of taking somebody on and then taking a back seat and doing nothing. The idea of taking somebody else on is so you can use your time to continue to focus the business in a different direction. So, for example, if you're spending, well, I'll give you a real example of how it played out for me. So at the start, I was doing probably 2 hours of marketing every day, and I'd be doing 2 to 3 hours worth of research and teeing up viewings. I'd then be going on those viewings amongst my lunch hours, on the way to work, on the way back from work, on weekends in batch viewings. I was just fitting them in whenever I could. I then got to the point where I got quite a few units on board, probably around 6 or 7. And then I found myself sat on a night rather than researching. I ended up sitting in zero reconciling bank statements. So I was like, and then I noticed that I wasn't getting enough viewings. I noticed that the pipeline was slowing down. So I spotted that I was using my time poorly. So I recruited a consultant bookkeeper to just basically do the reconciliation of the banks, which, was taking an hour or so a night. And that allowed me to go back to researching properties and ultimately find more deals to then put more into the business and put more into the cash flow, the pipeline. And that is what you've got to do. What the worst thing I could have done was hire the bookkeeper and then did nothing with that time, because that's pointless. That means you're going to get a negative ROI on your investment. Okay. The investment in the bookkeeper was to give me time back so I could go and find more properties. So that's what you've got to be aiming for. Now that's the kind of levels. So you've got kind of 0 to 5, then you jump up as you go into 10 to 15K, and then you want to be coming out the operations, building the team, and then eventually you want to be stepping out. And then there's kind of the next part of the business, which this is kind of what I'm trying to do now, which is basically remove myself completely from the business so that I am just acting chairman. I might check in once a month and I put a CEO in place. So that's by the end of this year, that is what I want in place for my business, so that in 2023, I can see what it's like not getting involved in the business, doing something totally different, and just checking in every single month, seeing how the financials are and making sure everything's going fine. So that's how you want to do. And then what I will do with that time, it's not like I'm going to go and sit on a beach and do nothing. I will then use that time to fuel other businesses that I'm already getting involved with and already have ideas to build. And so that is kind of how you want to be looking at your business life cycle. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, please just jump up with any questions. Okay, so as I said before, know when it's time to hire. So we kind of covered that off there. Really important to know when it's time to hire. You will know yourself, a bit like I did when I was doing the zero reconciliation. I could feel the pipeline drying up. I wasn't moving as fast as I was before. So I was like, there's something not going right. What is it? And I identified that it was that. I bought some more time back for myself. I went and used that time, got more properties on board. I then got soaked up in the operations because obviously my bookkeeper doesn't handle guests. And then I found that again, my time got soaked back up because all I was doing was dealing with guests, dealing with issues, dealing with maintenance. And then lo and behold, I wasn't finding any properties. So the next hire was my virtual VA. Give her a mobile phone, diverted all the calls to her, and she dealt with all the guest side, bought me some time back, and then I went back to acquiring property again, and so on and so forth. So always know when it's time to hire. never put it off until it's too late. And in all fairness, I would go sooner because then you're more prepared. Too many people do it, they react to it rather than being proactive. So always react and try and get ahead of everything as opposed to reacting when it's too late. And you're trying to just firefight and you're trying to plug people in. You end up recruiting the wrong person because you just need somebody and you'll take anybody. You know, try and know when it's about to come and say, okay, well, if I get another 2 or 3 units, I'm going to need that person. So I'm going to start that recruitment process now. And I'm going to find that right person because ultimately, even if I do plug them in, I know that I'll then definitely get the units because it's going to give me that time back. Never rely on one company or a person. This is one of the number one rules in business that I have learned the hard way from. I'll never forget my serviced accommodation cleaning issue where I had a husband and wife cleaning for me at the start, and I obviously blew the business up quite quickly. I kept saying to them, I can get other people in to help. And they were like, no, we can manage. We can do it all. And I actually had all my linen in my garage. So they used to come to my house. They used to get all the linen. They used to go out the properties and come back. And then I get a text on a Saturday night, we're not cleaning for you ever again. 27 cleans to do on a Sunday. Contractors coming in Sunday night. And I was pretty much in deep shit. So I, did, I guess, what I had to do. Rang every single cleaner I possibly could in the Northeast on a Saturday night and managed to stumble across a lady who still works for me now, who was like, I know a bunch of girls that I know will help and blah, blah, blah. And we managed to pull it off. We got cleaned and we escaped. But that was lesson number one, that you should never put your eggs in one basket when it comes to anyone really, but certainly operational sides of things. You need to be able to bounce things off. And sometimes you'll find good cleaners and it's natural to want to give them loads of work. But trust me on this, you want to make sure you have multiple cleaners in your phone book that you can rely on at any time. Now, you can only rely on somebody if you're constantly drip feeding them work. So you might have to start splitting the work up between multiple cleaners to ensure that they feel like they're getting work, they feel like they're part of the project. And if you ring them and say, I'm desperate, I need some more cleans doing, they'll say yes. It's no good just having their phone number, never giving them any work, and then expecting them to jump when you say. So never rely on one company or one person. A similar experience with my accounts bookkeeper I was talking about that I recruited, worked for me for, let's say, 2.5 years, a bit longer than that, 3 years nearly, and just decided to walk out one day. So all my accounts, all my bookkeeping, everything, all the passwords, the lot, she pretty much, because I just kind of let her get on with it. She was, I got my reports and I tracked my own financials, but she was the one that updated all the systems and, did all the payroll, did all the HMRC VAT returns, all that sort of stuff, and then just walked out one day. So 2 valuable lessons I've had within the last 3 years alone that have taught me never rely on one person. Okay, and always have everybody's role, which we'll come on to later, documented, so that if someone does walk out or someone goes on holiday, then you can just pick that role up quite easily, or you can give it to somebody else to pick up. So, rewiring your business habits. Do it yourself versus done for you. So, we have this innate nature, like natural ability to want to do everything ourselves at the beginning. And it always comes down to a cost mindset because we're always trying to save money. I've been there, I've done it. I remember the phone calls off my wife at 2 a.m. in the morning. Like, where are you? Clearly thinking I was having an affair. I know I'm actually just putting the curtains up in one of my serviced accommodation units because I've got a guest coming in tomorrow, rather than just paying someone 30, 40 quid to have done it that afternoon and probably done a much better job. So I'm rubbish at DIY. But it's that kind of mindset, and it goes for a lot of stuff. I also used to think that I had to do everything myself and learn everything myself with regards to marketing, with regards to accountancies, with regards to all sorts of things within the business. But as I've got more experience, I've realized that if you can just go to an expert and say, what do I need to do? Like, what do I need to do? And they just go, that, and that. And by the way, we'll help you do that, and that. For me, that is the best investment you can make. But what you have to do on the back end of that is make sure you're extracting the content of what they are doing. So if you ever don't work with them again, you've still got the value there, and then you can pick it up. But for me, DIY, get it out of your life as quick as you possibly can. Stop setting your properties up. Get other people to do them for you. You move much quicker. You focus your time on acquiring more properties, and it just speeds everything up. And, you think you're saving money, but you're not, okay? You're not saving money, because a specialist trades team could set up a property a hell of a lot quicker than you can. And you might pay an extra couple of £100 for that to happen. But if you get the property live 4, 5, 6, 7 days before, because they set it up versus you setting it up around your job or around other things that are happening, you could have potentially taken a grand's worth of bookings in that same time. So, it's not that you're losing money. It's just that you're just putting money in different ways. And the sooner you do it, the better. You'll also be a lot less stressed. You'll also enjoy this thing a lot more, because I don't know how many people enjoy DIY, but I certainly don't. Again, time versus money exchange. You've always got to be thinking about this. Too many of us focus too much on the money. We don't respect the time enough. Time is pretty much, I would say, the only thing that we cannot buy in life. We cannot get any more back. We go to sleep tonight and that's it, done. We're one step closer to dying. That is the reality of it. Same, tomorrow takes another day off and then we're even closer. We can't buy time back. So when you get further, especially as you go further up the maximization model, you start to really value your time a lot more. You start to see what your actual worth is. You put a number on it. And for me, I don't do anything that's not under that number. And, but by doing that, it also means that I'm growing and the businesses are growing, my life's growing, and I'm allocating my time in the right places. So really have a think about where you're spending your time versus, a money exchange. And also, bring this into your day-to-day as well. Like, how many of you are spending time, or should I say wasting time, watching Netflix? How many of you are wasting time scrolling through social media? Even if it's 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, 20 minutes here, that time you could be used scrolling through Rightmove, searching for properties, putting an advert on Gumtree, fueling your business. Think about where you can get these little pockets of wins. I'll give you a good example of this. My first book that I wrote, I figured out that if I did 15 minutes a day, then I'd be able to complete it in 4 months and I'd be able to get it published. Okay. Now I worked out, where do I have 15 minutes a day? Because I didn't like the writing process. I hated it. So I figured out that in between my reps in the gym, I would have a 1 minute rest. So I had a Google Doc on my phone, and in my rest periods in the gym, I wrote out my pages. That gave me 15 to 20 minutes worth of writing every single day that I was in the gym, which was probably 6 days a week. And within the 4 months, I finished my book. Okay, so I just bought a little pocket of time without really affecting anywhere else in my life. Similarly, I'm now writing my second book, okay? I'm actually not writing it this time, I'm speaking it, and I'm getting a copywriter to then put it into format, because I hated the writing process the first time. I learned from that. So where am I doing this? Every time I jump in my car, I put my Google document open and I speak into my phone and I'm speaking my book. I'm buying myself time, okay? Because I value my time. I don't want to be doing that in exchange of some of the sales and marketing stuff that I might do in the business. Or I don't want to do that when I should be, watching my kids swimming, or, taking my kids to play football, whatever it might be. So always think about where you're spending your time, because I guarantee you, I can find time in all your diaries, a lot of it, that you could be utilizing a lot better. And, I quite often, we get quite a lot of objection of, I don't have time to build a business out. That means you just don't want to. Because I guarantee you're all sleeping far too much as well, but we'll not go into that one. So think about where you're spending your time, because that time that you're spending that you can never get back is the difference between probably being successful and not being successful. Priority tasks versus feel-good tasks. So I say this all the time when, especially with new businesses setting up, where you'd rather design a nice business card than actually pick the phone up and ring some estate agents. You'd rather get your website looking perfect than do a load of marketing posts and create content and batch content and schedule it all. Basically, the priority tasks in your businesses, and even in the next 3 to 5 years, the priority tasks are sales, marketing. Nothing else really matters. And most of the stuff that you put on your to-do lists, you can probably cross them off because none of them are actually going to move the needle that much. They're all just feel-good tasks. They make you feel like you're doing something. They make you feel like you're showing up and therefore the results are going to come. Unfortunately, that won't happen. I was doing this until I read that 10X book, and really the priority tasks, which are normally tasks you don't want to do, they're the ones that move the business needle. They're the ones that put more money in your bank accounts. They're the ones that expand your teams, allow you to invest in, all these other different things, allow you to put money into new businesses, allow you to achieve your dreams, get more time back, get your freedom. They're the tasks that make the difference. The feel-good tasks, they unfortunately do nothing for you apart from make you feel good for a split second. It's like eating a bag of Haribos. You get a little sugar rush, and then after that, your energy levels peak off, and then you feel like crap, and then you wish you'd never done it, and then, so it's the same thing. Same with alcohol. You get a little feel good for a couple of hours, then you wake up the next morning and wish you'd never bothered. The priority tasks are something that you've got to do. Sales and marketing. 2 hours of marketing every day, 2 hours of sales every day. If you want to make a difference in your business, that's what you need to be doing as a minimum. You can all find 4 hours in your day, I guarantee it. 10X action. I've spoke about this a lot. Grant Cardone is actually one of my mentors. So, I know he's a bit of a Marmite character. Some people love him, some people hate him. But what that guy's done in business, what that guy's done in real estate cannot be taken away from him. And, the guy is an absolute machine. I think he's 66 now, or he's definitely kicking on in his high 60s, which he doesn't look at either. He's fit as a fiddle. But that man knows how to sell, and he knows how to take action. Everything he does is 10X, so it's just massive action around everything that he does. And by doing that, he gets results. And the minute I implemented that into my life and into my business, I started to see the results as well. The minute I thought 5 viewings wasn't enough, so I started doing 25. The minute that I thought 2 or 3 offers wasn't enough, and I started putting in 15 and 17 offers a week, the things started to change. The minute I went from doing 10 minutes of marketing a day to 2 hours a day, and now sometimes I probably spend more time in my marketing department than I spend in any other departments in the business. Because I think if you can generate leads into your business, whatever business you've got, you have a business for life. It is as simple as that. If you can create lead flow into your business, you have a business for life. And marketing is a unique skill set, but when you know it and when you can master it and when you can pull it off and you're generating leads, your brand's getting out there, it's a game changer. Self-development. You're all in the right place right now. You've all attended tonight and yesterday, which is fantastic. That shows to me that you're on the road of self-development, and it is super important. I'm going to go into this a bit more later on. But I cannot tell you how important it is to develop yourselves every single day. You should be learning something new every day, and you should be teaching it to somebody else so that you know it, and you should then be taking the action from what you've learned. That should be around business practices only, okay? So you should be learning something, ideally around sales and marketing, that you can then put into your business, and you do it every single day, 365 days a year, no rest. You do that for the next 365 days, come back here next year, we'll jump on a masterclass and tell me what your results have been, and I guarantee you're in a total different place financially. No questions asked. It's all you need to do. Develop yourself every single day. You will move forward. Okay, so build for the future now. This is kind of what I was on about before, where I wish I'd done this a lot sooner. But luckily, I did kind of figure it out early on, and I have always been very systematic. So if you actually look at my personal profile tests that I've done recently, and I do these probably once a year, they don't really change that much. They do change slightly, but I do them kind of once a year. But redone them this year with all the students when we're doing them as well. And one of my key things is I am very systematic. I do like to put things in systems, and I think that definitely helps with running businesses, because you have to put things in systems. Systems are what fuels your business, and then you wrap processes around the systems to make sure that the systems operate properly and that the processes work in sync, and then everything works in harmony. I cannot tell you how important it is to start building systems out for your business, and also building processes out. So the process when you take a booking is X, and then you do Y, and then you do Z, and da 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 da. The process of acquiring a property is we do this, then we do this, then we do this, and then we do this. And and then that fits into a system, which can be a software, or it can be something that you've made, or whatever that looks like for you. But it works and it keeps everything ticking and flowing. The main thing about all of this, and boy, do I wish I did this sooner, is document everything that you're doing now, because you will, obviously, if you're going this route and you're going up the maximization model, you will need to hand this over to somebody else. And it's a much easier process to give them a bunch of videos or a document or just anything that says this is how you do it, than having to train them for a week. And one of the businesses I used to work in had no systems and processes documented. Every single salesperson that we brought on, we had to give them a full week's training. They'd do the week's training. They'd realize it wasn't for them. So we'd have to recruit somebody else and go through the whole process again. It was such a waste of time. I learned my lesson from that. So what I do is we have a Loom account, and that Loom account, we shoot videos. This is how you do this. This is how you do this. Every time we're doing a task, we'll shoot a video, and it gets stored in folders. And within those folders, we have sales folders, accounts folders, da, 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 da. So if anyone comes into the operational team, needs to know how to work uplisting, needs to know how to work the website, needs to know how to take a direct booking, needs to know how to list the property on Airbnb, it's all there in a video. Explain, needs to know how to take a payment on Stripe, needs to know how to, it's there. They don't need to be ringing anybody. They don't need to be asking anybody. They just go and search what I call the company brain. And the company brain is constantly being fueled with more and more stuff, because your systems and processes will change as well. Okay. Now, I have this thing called the 1,000 property mindset. So I'm constantly asking my team if they ever say something, like we need this or we need that, or this isn't quite working. I say, if we had 1,000 properties today, would that system hold up? Would that process work? And if the answer is no, we need to change it. Because if we haven't got a process, or if we haven't got a system or a process that's built now to go to 1,000 properties, we're never going to get to 1,000 properties, because we'll always be firefighting and wasting time reacting to stuff because it doesn't work. So you have to build out your business now as though you had hundreds of properties too. Whatever your goal is, that you've got to build your business out now as though you've got that. So get your systems in place, get your processes in place, get them documented how you think they're going to flow. Yeah, you'll adapt and they'll tweak, and you might replace some of the systems over time, but the fundamentals are still very much the same, and they all kind of run congruently, so that as you scale, you're just tweaking and moving. Because listen, the systems I had to run 15 properties is nowhere near what running 150 is. Similarly, 150 is nowhere near like 300. So, the systems and processes will change, but the idea around them is expansion of the systems. They are there. You're just tweaking them and moving them. It's not like you're getting there and going, I need a full new process. So make sure that you've got them in play, and always be thinking ahead. Always have a vision of where you're going, and always think, well, is what I'm doing now sustainable if we had, X, Y, Z? I always say, people will ask me to do tasks. And I have to say, no, I'm like, no, I won't do that task. Can we pay so-and-so? Well, you can, but I'm not doing it. Why? Because by the time I log into the bank, by the time I do X, Y, Z, it's not feasible for me to do that. I am better off spending my time trying to do this part of the business, trying to expand the business. And it takes a while for your team to get used to that pushback, because at times, a lot of businesses don't do that. A lot of businesses, they come from a world where they think if the CEO's not doing anything, they're just being lazy. Well, it's not. No, actually, you'll see the rewards, because I'm pushing the business this way. I'm finding us more money so we can get more developments. I'm networking with, people that are going to enhance the business. I'm hanging around with, people that are in 8 and 9-figure businesses. I'm on my mentorship, so I'm spending time there getting more information so I can expand, so I can bring new ideas to the team and we can grow. Not processing payments or speaking to a guest or dealing with a cleaner. You know, that doesn't work for me. You know, that's not scalable. You know, a bit like, you know, the other day we've recently switched the way we pay people because it's, you know, my FD came in and said, that's not scalable. If you had the amount of properties you want, that doesn't hold up. We need to change that. So we change it and we put it in play, and now we're ready for the growth. So always be looking at your systems and processes, and the main thing is documented. And just with documentation as well, this doesn't just go for systems and processes. This goes for anything really. I mean, utility bills. I made the mistake of not documenting any of that for about the first 60 properties, 50, 60 properties. And then one day it was like, we need the internet didn't work or something, and we need this. And I had to get on the phone. I wasted an hour of my life, and I was like, this is just no good. So I actually got the team to find every single account number, login detail, password, you know, you name it. It took a week. I had to waste a week's worth of my team's time whilst paying them to just literally find out account numbers for utility suppliers. So get everything in spreadsheets from day one, account numbers, login details, passwords, you know, what the payment is, what term you're on, when it expires, what the rates are, all that sort of stuff, because it's so much easier to do it as you go than trying to go back over once you've got, you know, tens of properties on your books. Training. So really important that you train your team. I think a lot of people expect people to just come in to jobs and just deliver, you know, and then they don't last and they disappear, you know. So train your team all the time. There's a reason why I've got, you know, a mirror board here. I've got a mirror board over there. You know, I'm constantly training them. You know, I'm like, right, come on, half an hour training. Let's just bounce what we have and what objections we get and what questions we've got, what problems we've got in the systems. And we're just thrashing stuff out, and I train them along the way. So, you know, every day I commit to training my team. And, you know, this is something that I've not only done for myself over the years in training myself, but I feel like every role I've kind of had throughout my careers, I've always been that kind of trainer, leader type role. And I think it's important for any team. If you want your team to be better, then train them. You know, what's the point in me investing, I think I worked out the other day, over £250,000 in my own education in the last 5 years and not passing that on? Like, what's the point in that? You know, there's no point in me keeping it all inside myself. If I know something that's good and it's working, I need to pass that on to my team, you know, and that means they get better. So we all get more efficient. We all get better. So it's really important that you're constantly training your team. And, you know, that goes for your cleaners. It goes for, you know, your data processors, your sales scripts for your whatever role anybody's in, train them and take it as the lead, because you're the entrepreneur. You're the one they look up to. And if you don't know it, you need to go and figure it out. And go figure it out actually helps you expand as well, because then you can then teach it back to them so you know it. And it really helps you train. You know, it's part of why I love doing, you know, mentoring for people, because I have to be at the top of my game all the time, because I might get asked a question that I don't know, and I don't really want to ever be in that situation. So I'm constantly wanting to be ahead of everybody, because then I can, you know, not only does that fuel my businesses, but then I'm always there to be able to support with the right information and deliver what they expect of me, you know, because they're asking me to help them. So, you know, by being a mentor, I'm actually improving my own training and I'm improving my own knowledge, because I know that I am relied on by other people. You know, it's a funny way the way it works, but it's crucial for any business success. And again, recruitment. Don't just hire anybody, okay? You need to make sure that they're the right fit for your business. I would get them doing personality tests. I would get them, you know, really putting through their paces in interviews, you know, and try and, as I said earlier, recruit ahead of time rather than recruiting when you need to recruit, because that means you're going to take on somebody that you probably shouldn't. And then it doesn't last long. You invest a lot in time in training, and, you know, inducting them into business, setting them up, blah, 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 and then they go. And that there's nothing more frustrating than that. And then you've got to start recruiting again, especially if you're using agencies and you've got to pay fees. And, you know, so you've got to make sure that your recruitment process is inbuilt now and that you're starting to look to recruit your team. And this can go from anyone, it can go from absolutely anybody, your cleaner recruitment, your linen packer recruitment, your admin recruitment, your guest handling recruitment, whatever your processes, whatever your people look like that fill in the systems, then you've got to fit them in, but make sure that we're recruiting all the time. Right, I'm going to take some questions now. Let's have a look. When you mentioned your net figures in the maximization model, was that your including salary dividend? No, that's just what's coming out of the properties, I guess. Typically you'll get 5 units on a rent-to-rent deal, 500-600 quid a unit net profit. So that's what takes most people out of their jobs. Average income's 28 grand a year. So I actually, and this is the kind of teeter-totter balance that you have. Again, I wish I'd probably done it a bit sooner, but I didn't take anything out of the business for quite some time. I kept fueling it back into the business, and that allowed me to grow, which probably meant I stayed in my previous consultancy role a bit longer than I probably should have. But at the same time, it worked for me. I was able to maximize my time that I had. Although I do know the day that I went full time doing this, my business results just skyrocketed, because not only was I spending 20 hours a week on the business, I was now spending 80 hours a week on the business, So naturally, you're going to do a hell of a lot more when you're working full time at the business. Cool. All right, no more questions. So, mind and body. Now, for me, this is the secret sauce. Okay, and for me, it amazes me how many people don't give this the respect that it needs. They want the shiny penny stuff. They want the Lamborghinis and the nice big houses, and and the nice holidays, and be able to live without any worries and pay off credit cards and all that sort of stuff. But they do nothing about their mind and body. Yet when you start doing stuff to your mind and body in a positive way, you will actually see a huge impact on your wealth. And there's so many examples of this. I could give you so many examples, but from personal experience, I know that the minute I started focusing more on this and finding the balance, the more wealth I seemed to attract and the more abundance I moved into. So it really is something that I would encourage all of you to change your mindset on, and change how you go about things. But first and foremost, in terms of your mind, you've got to be acquiring skill sets all the time. Okay? It's all right coming on a masterclass for 2 days, and it's all right even if you go away and do the work. But if this is all you're going to acquire this year as a skill set, then I'm telling you now, you're not going to be successful. You might have short-term success. You might get a tiny little win, but you're not going to continue to keep pace. Okay? You see it so many times where there's successful entrepreneurs who have built incredible businesses, but they haven't kept pace with technology. They haven't acquired new skill sets about the way the world's modernized, and their businesses start to go back over. You have to be acquiring new skill sets all the time. I honestly cannot stress that enough. And you've got to continue to develop them. You've got to continue to learn them. You've got to continue to, push in new directions and get uncomfortable as well. Don't just learn what you're interested in. Learn new skill sets that maybe you're not interested in. I have this thing called the trifecta game, and I think this is probably the most important piece of the puzzle. So for me, I 5 years ago was, in a pretty deep place. I was pretty much depressed, and I just didn't want to do anything. I was working 75 hours a week, probably. Didn't have any time for my family. When I did see them, I was in a mood, and I just really didn't want to do anything. The turning moment for me was I wouldn't take my son to his birthday party, and I had a blazing row with the wife, and so on and so forth. And that moment for me was when things started to change, and I discovered this trifecta game. So I realized that when I actually put my self-care and my family as a priority on my calendar, and then I fit all the business activity around that, I would then ultimately find that not only did I have a family life that was on fire, not only did I have a relationship with my wife that was on fire, not only did I have a business that was on fire, not only was I in the best health I've ever been in, and felt the best, everything changed. And all of a sudden it was like, shit, I can actually have all of this, and you see it so often where CEOs of massive companies, they're like 25, 30 stone, they're going to die of a heart attack before they're 50. They're not going to be able to enjoy their wealth. They've got no relationship with their family and their kids, because they're constantly in the office. They're not balancing everything out. But it's that guilt trip that we play on ourselves as entrepreneurs, that if we're not constantly working and we're not constantly doing stuff, then we're gonna lose out, or we're not going to be pushing hard enough. But actually what happens is, because you're in a better place, because you're in a better mind space, because you're happier, your creativity sort of flows a lot better. And ultimately, when you're fitter and healthier, you can focus for a lot longer. Or in the times when you're really in your work mode, you're in pure focus, that there's no distraction, and you get so much more done than when you're sort of moving around very sedated and, you're not so happy and so on and so forth. So for me, you get the trifecta game going on, and you'll start to see huge differences in everything that you are, wanting to do. And you feel a lot more fulfilled as well, which is the main thing in life. For me, self-care is an everyday priority. It is, something that I do every single morning, 7 days a week. And, I get my body moving, I get the adrenaline going, get the endorphins going, and I'm ready. It opens the mind. It starts me to get creative. And, it makes me alive. And, so many people wake up, get coffee in their mouth to get them going. They mope out the door, and, they don't really get going until 2-3 hours later. You want to be getting your body and your minds going the minute you get out of bed. If not, you're wasting time. And we come back to the time that you can't buy. So really important that you get fit and healthy, because the fitter and healthier you get, I guarantee you, the more productivity you'll have in your businesses, and the more confidence you also get. The better you look, the more healthy you feel, the more clearer your mind. You end up wanting to do more stuff. You want to work on yourself more. You find more time for yourself, and you do more. Your productivity levels go up. Now, I burnt out when I was about 20, 21 properties. So I, wasn't hitting the gym, and, I was just doing property, setting them up, running guests, running around like an idiot, painting walls, doing all sorts. And I smashed my head on the van door, and I blew up. I was in hospital. Doctor's like, you're very close to burnout here. You need to just take time off. And, that was kind of a clear moment for me that, you've got to look after yourselves. But the minute I then started to look after myself in exchange of running around like an idiot and put other things in place, so it bought me time back to spend on my self-care, I then found my business impact was huge. We took on 40 properties in the next 6 months because I started putting a team around me, and then we just continued to build and scale thereafter. Time out alone is very good, and something that a lot of us do not do. So, I pretty much, when I mean time out alone, I mean without your phone. Actually going checking in somewhere for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and just, being by yourself. If you read anything about successful billionaires and millionaires, plenty of books, your Richard Bransons, Steve Jobs, your real inspiring people, you'll feel that they always used to take themselves away without any distractions for what they call thinking space. I recently did this on one of my Dubai trips, where I went over, I had my work week, and then I had a thinking weekend, where we just phones off pretty much, and, no technology, and just me and a notepad, and that was it, just wandering around, grabbing a coffee, sitting down, looking onto the horizon, and just starting to think and get clear. The inspiration and the ideas that came out of those 3 days this was November last year. The stuff that came out were all pretty much put into my business plan for this year, and we've pretty much executed on nearly every single bit of it, which will tee us up for a very successful 2022. Okay, I would not have created what I created if I hadn't have just taken that time out around everything that goes on, because your mind's just all over the place. You have to slow it down. You have to really slow it down. You've got to get away from kids. You've got to get away from family. You've got to get away from everything, or it doesn't work. So I would encourage everyone to do this once a quarter as a minimum. You don't have to take 3 days. You can pretty much just do a day. Most of you probably haven't put your phone down for more than an hour in the last probably 3 years or 5 years. So, just put it down for a day. No, just get rid of it. And, tell you want obviously tell people what you're doing in case there are any emergencies, but, have this time out. Create these pockets of time where your mind can do nothing but think creatively, because it's not got anything else to think about. Okay. But in order for this to work, you also need to be in a good space, because obviously if you're in a bad space with your partner, then 9 times out of 10, you're probably just going to think about that. If you're in a bad space with your kids, or you're not feeling fit and healthy, your mind's going to wander into wrong places. You've got to get everything lined up, and then you do this, and then you will start to create. And, most successful millionaires and billionaires do this all the time. Recharge for growth, something that a lot of us don't do. And I fall foul to this, but we do sometimes have to stop. My morning routine is pretty consistent and has been for the last 5 years. And, it's kind of about a 4-hour in total morning routine, and I pretty much do it every day. And I can't even tell you the last time I didn't do it, but this weekend just gone, when I was out in Dubai, I just felt like I had to stop. I just had to. There was just something telling me I had to stop. But by stopping, I actually recharged, and there was a bit of demotivation going on. There was a bit of I was just felt it coming on a bit. But when I was on that plane on the way home, I was ready, and I was ready to go again. And now I feel like I'm ready to go again, probably for another 5 years, So sometimes you do need to recharge for growth, but don't let it slip in where you then stop doing stuff. You've got to get straight back to the disciplines that have been working. You got to get straight back on the horse, and you got to get back at it active. The idea is just to fully recharge you, clear everything out, and let you go again, because the stuff that always works, people tend to give up on if they get out the habit of it. And it takes a long time to build these habits in, and it's so quick for them to go. And, it's really important that you do recharge yourself. Quickly answer these questions. I'll come back to them at the end. I'll come back to these at the end. So, brand development and marketing. Again, I cannot stress how important this is. For me, marketing is the lifeblood of any business. Without it, I just don't think you can have a business long term. So, there's all sorts of different types of marketing that we can do, but in essence, we've just got to get it out there. What I would say, in terms of lessons learned, because when I started this, I felt like I knew marketing, but I definitely wasn't the best at it. And I definitely didn't know what I know now, but I give it a good go. But learning from what I've learned and where I've been and what's worked, what hasn't worked, what gets engagement, what doesn't get engagement. The main thing that I think we all forget about is brand development. And if I had my time again, I would have done the rebranding that I have done in the last year. I'd have done that at the beginning, and I'd have paid for it in the beginning, because, if you've got $1 million brand or £1 million brand, a brand that feels £1 million will always go further than a brand that's not very good. Someone, how many times you jump on a website and it's crap, you switch straight off, and I'm not saying go and design amazing websites, because I'd rather you were picking the phones up and ringing estate agents. But, the idea is that you need to create a brand that looks and feels like £1 million today with your business. And by doing that, you will end up in a much better place faster. Okay. Whereas a lot of people, we do it the other way around. And I fell foul of this, where we kind of don't really think about our brand. We don't think about our policies. We don't think about anything. And we just go with it. And then eventually we get big and we start getting some success. Then we start to think about brand and logos and stuff like that. And, you know, you don't have to spend time on this. You can just get experts to do it. And then obviously, you know, you get it back. But for me, it's something that you should have in your sites at all times. And I'm not just talking marketing here. I'm talking about, you know, if I put it into specific serviced accommodation, the types of properties that you take on should fit your brand. So you should have a brand guideline of what you will and won't take on. At the beginning, I took everything on. I just wanted to make money. All right. And that was totally the wrong way to do it. So, you know, you want to take on properties that are going to serve your brand for the long term. You know, so they've got to be a certain quality. They've got to be certain size. They've got to be certain locations, you know, because you know what your avatar is that you're going to attract. And if they don't meet the brand standards, then they go. I can't tell you how many people ask us to manage their properties now, and we kick them back because they don't meet the brand standards. You know, they're in the wrong locations. They're in the unsafe areas. They don't look nice. They're not willing to spend the money on the refurbishments. And therefore they don't meet the brand standards. So whilst I could take their money, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't fit into my brand standards. We have to maintain brand standards. And that's something that I learned probably about a year and a half ago, and have really spent a lot of time with my mentors, putting it together and deciding what is right for the business and what isn't. And, you know, I feel like where we're at now is a real good position. And, you know, I feel it's never nice turning business down, but at the same time, it's nice to know that we are standing by our brand standards, because I think that will serve us much better in the long run than, you know, going for a quick win. Value versus pitching. One of the biggest mistakes I see, and one of the most frustrating things that I see, is people don't want to do the value part. They just want to do the pitching part. They don't want to put in the hard yards. They just want to put a post out there and steal all the traffic. And they don't want to do the work to get there, which is why if any is involved in my SA WhatsApp groups, the minute anyone pitches, they just get struck out, one red card gone. Because the rules are there, and it's clear to say that do not pitch in these groups, because I don't like it. I can't condone it. If you're not adding value to someone's life, you're never, ever, ever going to move forward at any pace, okay? So all of your branding and your marketing should just be about giving value. About 80 to 90% of your posts, 80, 90% of your content going out should be value, offering value. And then every now and then you can have a little pitch at the end of a value post. You know, we shouldn't be, you know, the amount of like content I put out there, which just gives value away, is huge compared to the amount of times that I ever ask for anything. So, you know, it's about finding that. But the more you put your value out there, the more you will attract back. Because when people are good and ready, they will come to you. Rather than the people that just drop into other people's environments, they don't offer any value at all, and they just ask for money, or they just chuck a deal in someone's face without sort of building any history, without building any value, without showing up every single day. So if you're prepared to show up every single day and do the work, trust me, it gets noticed. And they're the type of people that people want to work with, not the douchebags who want to just come and chuck a pitch post out there and not add any value and then go on to another group and do the same. You know, and you see this all the time. You see this in networking events. You see it online in social media groups. You know, you can see it all over the place where people are just very me focused. And by being that, you know, they're just not nice people to be around. You know, they're not good business people. You want to be offering value to people. So how can you offer value to people in our world? Quite simply, document your journey. Tell people what you're learning about. Offer value on how people can improve their serviced accommodation units, improve their deal sourcing, improve. I mean, there's a whole host of stuff you could talk about just over the last 48 hours that we've been through that you could teach other people, offer them value. And by offering value, you are almost being perceived a bit as an expert. And people like to work with experts. So then when you put a pitch out that says, oh, and by the way, we manage properties, guess what? Those people that might need properties managing would rather come to you than the douchebag who just puts a post out saying, hey, I've got an amazing business. Please come and get your property managed by us. You know, it's a total different mindset. And the value mindset wins all the time. Sometimes it's a bit of a longer game, but I guarantee you people are watching. You know, people are watching all the time, and they will come into your world when they're good and ready. And by just offering value, they'll see the value, and when they're ready, they will come and work with you. Marketing is like nothing else in business. It's very much a commitment and a discipline. Discipline is what creates success, by the way. Nothing else. Like, nothing else. If you're disciplined enough to stay the course of the journey and put in the work that's required by showing up every day, you will have the results that you want. Sometimes slower than maybe you want, sometimes faster, but you will have the results. But the minute you start to quit, the minute you start to not do stuff, the minute you start to not show up is the minute it all disappears. And it disappears quicker than you were building it up. So be committed to posting content every single day. Be disciplined to show up and create content. If you're going to batch content on a Sunday night for the week, show up and do it every single week without fail. If you are going to commit to posting every single day on every single channel, do it. Don't create a reason why you didn't. Don't tell yourself, oh, well, you know, that happened, so I couldn't do that. Do it. Post it. Even if it's the last thing that you do before you go to bed. Tick the box off, move forward. You know, that's all you can do. Just tick the box off, move forward. But be disciplined and committed to creating content and getting your value content out there on a regular basis, and you will start to see the benefits of it. No questions asked. Count the volume, not the leads. See this far too many times. I'm posting loads of content, Ryan, but I'm not getting any leads. You know, I'm posting loads of content, but I don't feel like I'm getting any engagement. Trust me, people are watching. People are listening. People are taking note. Okay? You're surprised how many people have come out of the woodwork that I used to go to school with asking how they can get into property or if I can help them with XYZ amount of money that they've got in the bank account. I haven't spoken to them for 20 years, but they're now interested. Why? Because they've been watching behind the scenes for quite some time on me just posting and posting and posting and posting. I've created that expert value offering. I've become an expert. You know, they now trust me without even really digging into it. They just see I'm putting a lot of value out there that makes sense. And then when they're good and ready, they ask the question. Not asking them to come to me, they just ask the question when they're good and ready. Count the volume, not the leads. A lot of people say quality over quantity. I actually think at the beginning of the business, which pretty much all of you are based on what you said last night, you need to get volume out there. You need to start getting noticed. Like, who are you? No one really knows who you are apart from your family. You've got to start getting noticed by other people, you know? And the minute you start getting noticed by other people is the minute that you'll start getting inbound lead flow. So get volume of stuff out there. People want to be seeing, like, Jesus Christ, there's that person again on Facebook. Jesus Christ, everywhere I go, I'm seeing them. Everywhere I go, I'm seeing them. And the way that cookies and all the magic internet works these days is you start posting on stuff and people start seeing you quite a lot. And then you become a name or a business, and then they understand what you do. And then they start seeing that the posts you're putting out there are actually good quality. They've got a lot of value in them. And when they're good and ready and need your service, then they'll come and ask for it. You know, so you can have a little call to action on the end of every post. You know, just might just be a simple thing. You know, if you'd like to chat, DM me. If you agree with this, pop a comment below. Or, you know, what do you think about this? Get an engagement post going. You can have call to actions. That's not being a douchebag and just pitching stuff. You know, being a douchebag and pitching stuff is very much just in your face. This is me. This is my service. You get it on LinkedIn all the time. I mean, hands up, who gets them on LinkedIn inbox every single day? Like, hey, my business is the best in the world and we do this and we're the greatest and I know fuck all about you and I can't be bothered to learn about you either. But here you go. Here's my product shoved in your face. Delete. You know, and that's how it works. So, you know, don't be that douchebag. It really pisses me off, as you can probably tell, when people do this, because it's just not the right way to do marketing. Document your journey and tell everyone. This is the easiest way that you can market yourselves. Doesn't matter whether you're literally first day on the job today. You know, you can market yourselves, you can document your journey, screenshots, selfies. I'm learning this. I'm going on my first viewing. I've just analyzed my first property. I hope I got it right. What's this big damn patch in the top of the window? Does anybody know? Document your journey. You're always ahead of somebody else, so somebody else can learn from you. But again, people are watching. Get all your profiles onto public profiles. Okay, in all your settings on all your social media profiles, get them onto public. That means anybody can see you. Anybody can search for you. Do not be afraid of somebody seeing your content. Okay, I appreciate some of you might have jobs and you've got to, you know, be a bit cagey, but as I say to my mentees, I would actually have the conversation with the employer and just say, listen, you're looking at getting into some investment properties and you'd like to put a few posts out around property. Is that okay? And most of them will say yes, because most of them will have properties, most of them understand. So, you know, but get out there, document your journey everywhere, videos, before and after pictures, you know, and as you go further on, you can use that content. So make sure you're storing it somewhere. Make sure, you know, we're constantly using content from this was me back then, this is what I've done, and this is where I'm at now. So it works all the way through that you're constantly documenting your journey. This was the first house that I bought. This is the development I'm currently doing. You know, you can make it work for you, however, and you can document your journey. This is the investor that I've just met. I've just been at this networking event. People just, it's just opportunity to get you out. And, you know, I did a masterclass last year on, I think it was a 5-day challenge where we talk about the content buckets. You know, you have 5 content buckets. You're just constantly collecting content for each of those buckets. And then when you go to your batch content day, you're just batching it up and sending it. And you've got loads of content, because a lot of people say, oh, I struggle for content. What do I post about? If you're constantly collecting your content as you're going through your daily, you know, routine, your daily habits, your daily life, then you'll always have loads of content that you can batch up and then obviously post off for that week. Engage in groups daily. Something that I don't want you to waste too much time on. However, it can be, in the right groups, very powerful to become what I call a bit of an influencer, or just somebody that's getting busy. You know, again, just your name coming up. So it can be just answering questions, putting opinions on stuff, maybe chucking a few polls in there, asking a few questions yourselves, just being involved in, I would choose 3 groups, spend 15 minutes a day, just 5 questions in each, answer, check out, go back to your routine of daily life. That's actually, you know, going to produce results, sales, marketing, whatever it might look like, actually going to work, things like that, going to the gym. And you will get results from that. You'll start to see that people will notice you. They'll start asking you questions. You'll start to see a few DMs flying into the back of your profiles, and you'll have some conversations with people. And you just never know where they're going to go. So it's time invested. You can do the same on Instagram, same on Facebook. You can just, you know, comment on people's stuff, and you will start to get noticed, and you'll build your profiles up. And again, just money follows attention. So go and get yourself some attention. Can't stress that enough. Money follows attention. Go and get yourself some attention. So many places we can get attention from right now, free. All we have to do is exchange time and do it. And most of you are wasting time on your phones anyway, so you might as well do it in a good way. So, mentorships. I'll come back to that question. Mentorships. I want to talk about my experiences, because this was a game changer for me. So 5 years ago, when I was on my couch and I basically said I'm not going to my son's birthday and told my wife to piss off, and we ended up in a blazing row and blah, blah, blah. I'm sat there thinking, like, what's life coming to here? And then I'm mindlessly scrolling on Facebook, because that's all I knew how to do at that stage. And I'm not sure I was looking for, but I was looking. And this advert jumped out at me. It was this guy basically telling me, you're burning your life down. You know, just it was one of the best marketing videos I've ever seen, because it just spoke direct to me. Like, I was like, this guy is reading my brain right now, and that's good marketing. And sure enough, within, I would say 20 minutes, probably not even that, I'd paid 10 grand on a credit card that I didn't have to some guy that I didn't know from America, because he showed me a path. And that guy changed everything for me. and I'm actually gone back to him recently. He's currently my mentor as well now, and he changed everything for me, and both in terms of my life and in terms of my wealth, my health, everything. And ever since that day, I realized how powerful mentorships can be and how powerful working with experts can be to all areas of your life. And it was an absolute game changer. And that's why I want to talk about it, because wherever you're at with your journeys right now, I want you to empower yourselves with this mindset of constant education and constant development, because if you do that, you will achieve everything you need in life, and you'll constantly feel fulfilled because you'll always be chasing something and more than likely getting the success from the results. The momentum train is something I talk about a lot and I see happen in a bad way quite a lot. So you're all on a momentum train right now. You've done 2 nights worth of, quite intense training, and hopefully you've picked a lot of value up from it. And, there's a lot of stuff you can put into play. Now, if this stops after tonight and you then don't do any more education, you don't expand, you will start to go backwards. You'll get off the momentum train. I talk about this all the time with deal sourcing. Even if you've got no money and you've been deal sourcing, then you run out of money because you've acquired a load of deals, never stop deal sourcing. Because once you get off that train, once you stop speaking to the agents, once you stop fueling the pipeline, it dries up and it's hard to get it going again. I see it quite often with mentorships where, even people will come work with me for whatever, 6 months, 12 months, and then they drop off. They think they've cracked it, and they then, I see them 6 months down the line and they've actually gone back over. They've stopped educating themselves. They've stopped expanding, and they're just going through the mundane day to day. Because what it takes to go from this here to this level is a certain type of knowledge. What it takes to go from this level to this level is a different type of knowledge again. This level to this level to that level. So just because you're working with somebody and you get the results that you want doesn't mean that you've cracked it. The minute you think you've cracked everything is the minute that you are heading for disaster. And in the last 5 years, I've had a period of 4 months where I've not had a mentor by my side. And I have to tell you, it was one of the most loneliest times ever. But it was in between a transition where I couldn't find the right person. But I just felt a bit like I need that support. And by just having someone fuel your mind all the time, it really pushes you on. The ROI on my investment, I do think I've spent about £250,000 in the last 5 years. It doesn't include all your little ebooks and little books and things like that. This is sort of on mentorships and consultancies. But my ROI on that is a lot greater. And a lot of people, that is a lot of money. Even I say that, and that is a lot of money. And you think, well, Jesus, that really is a lot of money, £250,000. If someone had told me that 6 years ago, I'd have laughed at them, said they were stupid. But that 250K has definitely got a couple of zeros after it, and that's only just now. Think of the lifetime value that you can get from all of that. So always think about the ROI in yourself. We're quite happy to invest in bricks and mortar, but we're not happy to invest in ourselves. And people say to me all the time, I get so many messages on TikTok and Instagram saying, I want to do this and I've got a pot of money and what do I do next? And I say, invest in yourself before you invest in any bricks and mortar. And they're like, what do you mean? I've got money to buy property. I'm like, yeah, but you don't know how to do it. You can go buy property in the old traditional way, leave your money stuck in it, and that'll be the only property you buy in the next 20 years. Or you could spend money invested in yourself, figure out how to do BRR, and then you could have a portfolio in the next 10 years. So there's always ways that you've got to think about things. But investing in yourself, in not only your mind, but in your health as well, is the biggest ROI that you can get. My life goal is to help 100 people become millionaires through passing on my skill sets. So that is why I do my mentorships. That is why I help people in my health and fitness business, as well as in my property business. And because I want to inspire people to be better than themselves, because when you give value to other people, you get it back. I mentioned it last night, like money for me is just a tool. And when you understand that money is just a tool, it's just a tool for exchange, And if you don't chase money, if you actually just give value to people, you will get enough money back into your bank accounts. Okay, money's just the tool. You have to have a bigger purpose than yourself. If you don't have a bigger purpose than yourself, then 9 times out of 10 you're going to struggle, or you will definitely hit a plateau and you'll not push forward. So you have to have a bigger purpose of why you're doing this, or you'll not stay the journey. You'll not stay committed. I've got up at 4:30 a.m. to 5 a.m. every single morning, pretty much for the last 5 years. There's not many people in the world could say they've done that. But that is because I've got a bigger goal than money. You know, my goal is a lot bigger than that. If anyone would like my deal calculator, just let me know in the questions. I'll give you the link. And listen, if anyone does want to further their time with me, then jump on a call with my team and send me a direct message either on social media or in the message below, and just type in the chat and let me know what you think the value of the last 2 days is on your business in pound notes. So just the value that you think it's worth. 10K, 15K. Okay. Life changing. Cool. Okay. So everyone's getting a value, right? So if you had me on your business for the next 12 months, what impact do you think you'd have versus going alone? It's not rocket science what we do, and inspiring people and pulling the true version of themselves out is probably the hardest part for me, and getting them to show up. But those that do show up, they get the results because the fundamentals are there. We do sessions like this every single week. So imagine if you were doing sessions like this every single week for the next 52 weeks, where your business would be. We do quarterly masterminds in person. So there's so much that goes on by investing in yourself. And, whether you want to work with me or don't want to work with me, all I would do is encourage you to take away what I'm saying right now and put your money into yourself somewhere. Obviously I'd love to coach us all, and, I'd love to take us all on board. And, I know I'll get you the results if you show up. But, even if you decide I'm not for you, make sure you do find someone that is for you, and make sure that you constantly push forward, because you've already taken the first big step to getting here, which is showing up for the last 2 nights and spending time. And, that is in itself admirable, and it shows that you're in the right mindset right now. But you can quite quickly get off that momentum train, and that can quite quickly disappear. And then before you know it, you're stacking shelves and you've got no purpose in life, and you're just going through life in the mundane way. And then you get to 75 and realize you've done nothing. So, stay on this momentum train. Take action from tonight's calls. Take action this weekend. Just because the weekend doesn't matter. It's got a Y in it. It doesn't matter. It's just a day. We produce every single day of the week. And, and then just get better and grow and grow and grow. And the more you invest in yourself and the more you look after yourself, the greater you will be. Right, let me quickly answer a few questions. If anyone else does have any questions, ping them in the chat, and I will, let me just, a few people are asking for the deal calculator. I did ping in the chat last night, but let me just answer a few of these questions. How can we make SA tax efficient if I have the house under my own name? Can we put the furniture, paint, etc. towards tax? Yeah, so if it's in your own name, if you've actually got the property in your own name, it's so much more tax efficient having an SA than it is actually running the tenant, because you don't fall foul of Section 24. So you can actually then write your mortgage costs off as well. So yeah, and then you would just run any business expense, whether you're self-employed or whether it's through a limited company, you can write off. So you can get very tax efficient with them in your own name. Do we need to hire commercial grade linen and towels? Yeah, I mean, one thing I would say with linen, which I see quite a bit, and you know, I did this in the first house, you know, buying colourful linen. It just buy white linen. A white hotel linen is pretty much what you want. And same with cutlery. I thought it'd be really nice to get some, you know, swanky blue plates from IKEA, but then one smashes and they don't stock blue anymore. So you stick a white one in the middle of them and it looks terrible. So it's just keep it simple. Business is about simplifying everything. Just keep it simple. You can really, you want to get linen that'll last about 100, 120 turns through the washing machine, which is typically your commercial style stuff. But that's on average how many turns you'll get out of one piece of linen, assuming a guest hasn't had a fight and sticks blood all over the sheets, which obviously happens every now and then on a weekend. But I can't wait for you lot to experience what you've got coming up. It's all honestly, it is a wonderful business, but it's not easy, and it has you pulling your hair out at times. But I think one thing that you've really got to do is just teach yourself how to laugh about it, because like some of the stuff that goes on is just, I mean, like stealing ironing boards, stealing hair dryers, you know, I've had people take the wall art off the walls. It's like 20 quid's worth of wall art from B&M, you know, it's like, but it's a fun game to be in. How do we systemize the SA? I've heard of channel managers. Which one do you recommend? Yeah, you do need a channel manager. And I would encourage you to get a channel manager straight away, because it helps you build out your messaging. It helps you build out the platform, get used to the platform and how it all works. I 100% recommend uplisting. I've been through 3 different channel managers, and I'll not be changing anytime soon, or if ever. I've got a great relationship with Vinny. He implements a lot of stuff that I ask him to implement. If you want a link for that, I do have a link to get set up on that as well, and you'll get discount. So I've kind of got a deal for my students, but I can probably find that link quite quickly. Give me 1 second. But they're going places uplisting. A really, really good channel manager. Here we go. Pop that in the chat. For the deal analyzer, if you just ping me a message on Facebook or Instagram, and I'll get you that link. Let's have a look. That was that. Can you get the owner to pay for the refurb sometimes, or do I cover all the refurb costs as standard? No, I can do. You can do it in many ways. I mean, now, I think I said last night where I'd rather say, listen, you just get it right, and then I'll rent it off you when it's right. Whereas in the early days, I was keen as mustard, and I'd be like, oh, I'll do it in exchange for some rent-free period. Rent-free periods work quite well, because if you think about the maths on it, let's say a flat costs $2,000 to decorate. A 2-bed flat costs $2,000 to decorate. So if the landlord is getting it decorated, he's going to have to pay that $2,000. Whereas let's say the rent's $1,000 a month, and you say, well, I'd rather have 2 months rent free and I'll decorate it. The landlord thinks, well, my mortgage is only like 300 quid a month. So actually it's only costing him 600 quid to give you 2 months rent free. And then he's getting a property that's been renovated with $2,000 worth of spend. So sometimes that is quite appealing to the landlord, and therefore that might win you over a deal. And, you know, ultimately you'd have to pay for it either way. So, but, you know, I quite often now, with the brand that I've got, and, you know, the trust that we've got, and how people want to work with us because to see what we can do, say, you do that, and then we'll take it on from you for quite a number of years. And that works quite well for most of the landlords that we work with. But you can structure deals however you want to structure them. Like you can, at the end of the day, it's just you and them, and how do you make it win for both people? There's no rule book that says you must do it this way or you must do it that way. I've got all sorts of quirky deals in my portfolio, and, you know, I just create them, and I come up with them, and I listen to what they've got to say. I listen to their problems. I listen to how I can help them. I know what my skill sets are. I know what we can deliver as a service, and then I try and put 2 and 2 together. So, you know, I've got to make sure it's a win-win. And sometimes I'll make it more of a win than it is for me, for them, because I know that definitely gets the deal over the line. And that for me has served me very well over time. But as I said last night, learning from my, not mistakes, but I guess my learnings is I would get them to do refurbs, and I wouldn't really spend fortunes on refurbs either for properties that you don't own. What do you think about SA above commercial property shop with uppers? Yeah, fine. We've got them. We've got currently in negotiation to buy more, and there's 14 flats in exactly that commercial downstairs of different types of shops: butchers, bakers, quick stitches, Sainsbury's. And then upstairs we've got the veranda of flats. We've got quite a few setups like that, and we're working with a big company who predominantly specializes in buying that type of commercial stock all over the UK. We've got thousands of units, and looking to sort of rent or buy more from them. And yeah, they work really well. Again, it comes down to location. And most, especially the contractors, they probably attract more contractor bookings than the weekend stuff, but the contractor bookings are good. And typically residential stuff above commercial is sometimes a tiny bit cheaper on the rent side of things, because they're not as attractive as its own self-contained block of flats or a nice residential 2-bed terraced house. So a 2-bed flat above a shop would typically yield a lower rent, so you can get them a bit cheaper. And but yeah, work very well for us in my experience. That's any more questions? How do you source properties on a daily basis? Just putting posts out on social media and putting ads on Gumtree doesn't lead to much. No, you are correct. That sort of stuff is your medium to long-term strategy. That's more of your brand development, telling people what you're doing. And when you'd be surprised how many times when you do get in touch with an estate agent or a landlord, they then go and have a little quick look at your profiles. So if you've got nothing on there, then it doesn't add to your credibility. Whereas if you've got stuff on your profile all the time, document your journey in and out of properties here, there, and everywhere, they know that you're involved and they know that you're busy. So it gives that instant sort of trust factor. In terms of deal sourcing, we go fishing. You've got to go into the groups. You've got to go into marketplace. You've got to open conversations. You need to be, if you want to take this game seriously, open 50 to 75 conversations a day. And that is probably what you need to be doing, a minimum 5 days a week. And that will help you scale massively. Obviously, you can do 10 conversations a day, 20 conversations a day. It'll get an impact. But if you want to do it properly, open 50, 75 conversations a day, probably take you the best part of 3 to 4 hours, and you'll get a lot of, you'll get a lot of commitment. And you can open conversations everywhere, ringing estate agents, messaging people on adverts, whatever that looks like. Just finding properties that are up for rent, up for sale, and just messaging people and opening conversations. And those conversations, you might get a 25% response rate where you can actually get into dialogue. And then from that, you might get, a 50% hit rate to go on viewings. And then obviously a few of them will cancel, and then you get on the viewings and then you make the offers. So it's just constant activity. Do landlords mortgage package affect whether you can get an SA deal done? Yeah, I have a term, and it's right at the top of my contract, which basically says we will be managing your property on your behalf. You must tell your mortgage company, and we will also be doing it for this purpose, and you must tell your holiday company, your mortgage company. And that for me suffices. And it's the same on my rental agreements. As long as I've got that signed, I know I'm covered, and I know I've told the landlord. And if they sign it and send it back, and then I'm all good, because I'm protected and they can't ever come back on me. We can use the property because that's what we've said. In all fairness, I don't really go into the conversation of it unless I have to. And, it's up to them at the end of the day, because it's their responsibility how they want to act. I know fine well some of them have signed my contract and have done nothing about it. And then I know some that have signed the contract and done something about it because, the value has come out. So we know. But that's not really your problem to solve. That's up to them. And I would kind of just, go around it. I thought, Branko, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I thought you said my mentorship was abysmal.
Yeah.
But do you want to?
Did I not explain myself properly then?
You've been working with me not a while, but so and so. So for those that aren't, do you want to just, and you obviously you've been on other mentorships as well, and this isn't to big me up. Just kind of share your experience so far, what you're getting out of it.
Well, essentially, I think the support from my experience with other mentors, they provide all the information and it's wonderful, and it's all very well detailed and thorough and all of that, but they leave you to do all the work, and this is just my experience, they're there for you if you need them. Whereas with you, what I'm finding is that, yes, you're there if we need you, but you are actually there, always available. And I have had situations in the past where I've needed some support or some help with other mentors, and they just weren't available, not replying to emails or texts or any form of communication. And personally, I find that really important, be it because I need a hand or because that's my way of working. And I find that that's really important. And so it's working very well for me, and it's having the goals very detailed and how thorough and detailed you are on that front, that really resonates with me as well. And I think it's not just me, it will resonate with anyone that wants to get into property, because you have to be organised in this business. So yes, I think it's been really, really valuable, and I thank you for that.
No, I think I appreciate everything you said, and but for me, it's I think it's not about the best way to put it out. A lot of people they'll say, oh, you can only have this time, you can only have that time, X, Y, Z. But the way I create the environments have always been, so basically I've taken learnings from all the mentorships I've been on that work really well for me, and put them together and piece them together, and putting people in the environments and the way that we communicate and the channels that we have. And I think there's always got to be that respect of time. But at the same time, if you're there and available, why not just respond? Because people need that real-time movement forwards. You might be in the middle of a deal, you might be in the middle of a phone call, and whilst you can never guarantee that you're going to be there at the end of the phone, but let's be honest, we do have these mobile phones in our hands most time and most days, and you can quickly respond to messages or shoot voice notes. But I think that comes with also, we talked about it last night and today, where if you're not getting stuck into technology and understanding technology, your business is going to go back over. And I think you can utilize technology a lot to actually help systemize and process your businesses, which then fuels a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff that happens on my programs is automated, but we're constantly developing them. And a lot of stuff that works in my business is automated. I mean, Zapier, I think I'm up to about, I don't know, $280 a month spend now, which is a lot for Zapier. But that shows how many zaps are happening in the business now. But if I put that into how many hours it's saving, it's probably 5 or 6 full-time team members, by just embracing technology and getting used to it. So, but yeah, I think ultimately, I've been on good mentorships and I've been on bad mentorships, but even the bad ones, I'm not going to let a bad mentor hold me back. There will be still some information there that I can get out of it and get my ROI and move forward. And then obviously you stumble across the good ones and you want to stay with them, which is why I've recently gone back to, because I couldn't find anybody. So I went back to my first one, and it's been incredible. Like what we've done in the last sort of 4 or 5 months is just been incredible. And, I'm probably going to stick there for quite some time now, but yeah, thanks for sharing, Branko. And, it's one thing that I love doing is coaching students like yourself. And, there's a few more on here tonight as well who are just, they show up and they put the work in, and they're going to get the results, and that you're going to get the difference because you can see that you're putting the work in, and that's half the battle. So thank you for showing up, because it inspires me to want to show up as well and do more for everybody. Let's keep going. Any more questions? What role would you recommend hiring to help with SA operations? So for me, I think the first person Well, what I would do is I'd find out what you don't like doing, and then I'd get that off your plate. So for me, I'll never forget it. 11:30 at night, phone went. I can't get into the lockbox. I'm like, honestly, you can't. I'm in bed. I go to bed at 9:30. I get up quite early. And have you tried this? Yeah, I've tried that. Have you 4 digits lined up? Yeah, it's not working. It's not working. They're screaming at me down the phone. So I jumps in the car, drives down to the quayside, got to the lockbox, put the code in, pushed the black button down, lock keys open, keys got. I was like, almost chucked the keys at the guest, put the thing back up, had a sort of very pissed off smile, and I swore blind then I would never deal with a guest again. And the next day, that's when I recruited my VA, and then I just offloaded that, because I haven't got the patience for guests. And I understand that in my personality. And this is what I talk about, the personality traits. So depends who you are and what you think your skill sets are. But for me, my skill sets are not dealing with guests. I haven't got the patience for it. Joanne, my portfolio manager, is amazing. Like, she can have someone effing and blinding and screaming down the phone at her, and she stays very calm and she deals with the whole situation and she turns it around rather than going to war with them. So, but anything that's going to give you time back to focus on income generating tasks is the main thing. And 9 times out of 10, you can pick up VAs for 10, 12, 15 pound an hour. So your time's definitely worth more than 15 pound an hour. If you get a rent-to-rent deal on the books, that could be worth probably, 7-8 grand a year net profit over a 3 to 5 year period. So the time spent finding that property could potentially be worth 35, 45 grand. If you're looking at BRR properties, you get a good deal on, potentially that's worth in excess of 12 to 15 grand a year net profit, plus the uplift in value you get on the property, plus the property growth. You're probably looking at something like a 200 to 300k return on that, finding that one property. So where's your time best spent? Acquiring property. And so offload as many operational tasks as you can, as quickly as you can. How many different people can you have in one SA? I'm assuming you mean different bookings. Okay, yeah. I personally don't think this model works anymore due to COVID. I think your B&B type stuff where it's built that way is different, but having a room share in one house, we had a big 10-bed house in Gateshead that was exactly this, and it worked before COVID, and after COVID it just didn't work. People don't want to share with people anymore. They don't want to share kitchens. They don't want to share bathrooms. There's a lot of people still very much uptight about the whole COVID thing. So I would personally not engage in that model. It did used to work, but not for me. It doesn't work anymore. Ever rent to local authorities or the government? No, although I am being asked the question more and more and more, but the rents just don't stack up. And I know some people get really good rents, but the stuff I'm being offered just doesn't stack up compared to what I earn from service accommodation. So at the minute, it's a no. I am potentially going to offload my development, one of my developments, if they can cough up with the rent, but it's going to have to be good because I know what the SA capacity is. Or I might just do a floor, but we'll see how that plays out. Where do we get the contracts for rent-to-rent and rent-to-SA deals from? You need to be part of the mentorship. They're all included in the mentorship. That's part of that. I've paid thousands of pounds to get those contracts. Again, just the ripple effect of kind of what you get by onboarding yourself with somebody that's been there and done it. I paid thousands from solicitors to get them drawn up, but my mentees get them. Chris, thank you very much. Recording. There will be recordings of all this, by the way. What will happen now is my team will put it into a Kajabi program, and then everybody that has registered will get access to that Kajabi program. So give us till probably early next week. We'll get it all wrapped up, and we'll send it on email, and then you'll be able to get access to the PDFs plus yesterday's recording and tonight's recording. Is there an optimum number of bedroom/guests in any particular property? No, I don't think so. I think we kind of touched on this last night, but every property works in its own right. It's just about acquiring it for the right amount of money and making sure that you've got the right areas. So the ADRs are going to outweigh the costs. And by doing that, it works. You know, I've got 1-bed properties that I own that do better than 3 beds that I rent. You know, similarly, I've got 5, 6 beds that I rent that do amazingly well. You know, so I've got everything in between. And I think if you're going to grow your portfolio, you're going to have a mix. And whilst you can target, it seems to be everyone kind of targets 2-bed flats for some reason, but I would say terraced houses are really good on the fringes of cities. 2, 3-bed terraced houses work very well. 4, 5-bed terraced houses work well. Townhouses, flats, studios. So again, it comes down to location. Like studios in Dubai for us are absolutely killing it on the expat market. So, you know, they don't need much room out there and they want to keep the costs down. So they work incredibly well. So it just depends your market, where you're at and what you're looking at. And then, but I would just go with what you find. It's hard to find deals. So if you get a deal and it's, you know, you go, oh, well, it's not a 2-bed, it's only 1-bed. But if the 1-bed still stacks up on the deal analyzer and it says green lights go, then just take it on board and make some money out of it. Will, would you recommend using service accommodation management companies? Yes. Obviously, I have a service accommodation management company. And so, you know, and I think in time, this is exactly what you should be doing. I think it becomes a development of your service accommodation business. You know, ultimately, a millionaire has 7 revenue streams. And I think in property alone, you can create 7, if not more, revenue streams. You know, you've got your buy-to-lets, you've got your HMOs, you've got your service accommodation, you've got service accommodation management, you've got maintenance. What else? I used to have a cleaning and linen service, although I got rid of it because the profitability wasn't there for the amount of time and hassle we're putting in. Again, time versus money exchange. You know, there's so many different revenue streams that you can pull out your businesses. So whilst you're just in the beginning of your journey with SA and you're probably thinking rent to buy SA or rent to rent SA, you want to be thinking long term. Okay, well, I'm going to get to a point where I've got my systems and processes nailed. I've got everything locked in. I've got an amazing team. And we're in a position now where we can go to market and deliver a service to people that are looking for management. You know, so I would definitely recommend management, and I would recommend them as a company to work with in an instance, but I would also recommend them as maybe your future business. The trade-off with management is always going to be financial versus time. So you could say, okay, well, if I give it to a management company, I'm not having to bother with all the operational stuff, and then you're going to have more time to get more properties on board. Or you can do what I did and just build out internally, and then you are your own management company. And, you know, and you kind of then buying time back in other areas by getting a VA or getting an accountant and bookkeeper and, you know, all that sort of stuff. So it totally depends on, I think the answer to that question, you want to reframe slightly and go to what is my long-term vision for the portfolio? You know, talking about that sort of £1 million brand. What is that vision? Where do I want to be in 5 years' time? Do I want a portfolio of properties that you do no management of at all? You know, whether it's rented, whether it's, you know, HMOs, whether it's service accommodation, you have nothing to do with the management side of it, and you've constantly got that outsourced, which a lot of investors and developers do. Or is it a case of you want to have everything internal? And because I'm a control freak, that was my decision from day one. I'm building this whole thing out. I've got to have everything my own. But you know, there's pros and cons of both sides, and I think it entirely depends on you and what you want long term, and probably how much time you've got. Does your cleaners set up the properties for guests arriving, or do you have someone else in between switching on lights, heat, stocking milk, etc.? No, we use cleaners for pretty much everything. Cleaners are your eyes and ears of your business. This is one of the, if you listen to, I did a podcast with a cleaner. She owns a cleaning company in America, in, I can't remember what state, Texas, I think. And we talk a lot about their side of it and how they view it. And it's a really, really good podcast. I really wanted to listen. I really wanted her on my show because I wanted to quiz her more than anything. That's the great thing about podcasts. You can quiz people. And it was really interesting to see how they think of it from their side. And because your cleaners, they are your business. You know, think about the experience I said before. if I couldn't have rallied around 27 cleans worth of cleaners in a day, I could have lost a lot of money. And that was from the cleaner making a decision. So obviously there's a few other decisions I made by putting my eggs in one basket, but they are fundamentally the control of your business. If they don't clean a property properly, you're giving a refund or you're getting a bad review. Or you're having to send somebody back out to look at it, or you're having to go back out and fix it. If they're not telling you about maintenance that needs to be fixed, then you're going to get a bad review because the guest that walks into it's next going to walk into something that's not maintained. So your cleaners are your eyes and ears, and you should treat them like they are CEO of the business. Pay them well, look after them, and try and you need to get them into your technology. A lot of them don't like to use technology, but you need to get them into your softwares, make sure that they're using it so you can have your eyes and ears on the properties, but you don't have to be near the properties. So it's really, really important that you value your cleaners, and I don't think enough service accommodation and hospitality businesses do that. Cool. No more questions. Amazing. Well, listen, obviously I'd love to work with those that I'm not working with. And if you do want to work with me and you want to speak to my team about what the potential options are, both on the property side, or if you just want to get fitter and healthier, then I can show you how to do that in my body transformation programs as well. And, it's been amazing. I love doing these things, and I hope it's been super, super valuable. If you have found it valuable, I would love a review. If nothing else, I put the link last night. It's just SoTellUs/video/Ryan K. Luke, or jump on Google or anything like that. But please use the information. There's nothing more frustrating than seeing people come on these things and doing nothing with it. And please use the information that you've been given, and please keep furthering your journey, whether it's with me or with anybody. Just keep learning, keep expanding every single day, and you will achieve what you want to achieve. And just be great and motivate yourself every day, and keep in touch. I shall see you all very soon. Have an amazing weekend, everybody. Take care.
Thank you.